Welcome to another TXR video. Today we are going to do a few more battles, try to upgrade the car, trying to progress through the game and especially make a bit of money. In order for the latter to be a bit more efficient, we are going to start by looking into the perks. This is a new addition for this game. This definitely wasn't present in any shape or form in Xtreme Racer Zero, which is once again the one other game of the series that I played and kinda grew up with. So we have different things here, driver level, just allowing us to get more attack out or be a bit more defensive. So we are going to either do more damage to the other guy's SP bar or take less ourselves if we upgrade that. We can also acquire skills. There are different perks like being allowed to have a larger wallet. Right now our limit is 3 million, which might not even be enough to buy another car. So we can increase that. We can also unlock other cars for the dealerships. So we need to get them here first in order for them to appear in the dealership itself, and we can also get more tuning parts. This might be more for later. I could put a few points into this system right here, or into this little perk thing, and that would give me a new engine option right away, but I usually tend to skip this. This is something that I completely ignored in the first playthrough. I never went onto the tuning page. I just stopped at machine, and that was kind of the end of it. So I was really running with the basic tuning set for way too long, which also means I'm acutely aware of how far this can take me. Further than you think, but not as far as I would like to. So the thing I really would like to do right now is... oh god. I need to get to a very particular thing here, and yeah, if everything costs me 3 battle points, that's not going to happen. I want the long runner perk right here, but I will need another 5 battle points, meaning I need to win 5 more battles in order to for that to happen. So let's focus on that right now. I thought these were only one per piece, so otherwise it would have been possible for me to get it right now, but yeah, here we are. So let's get back on the road and try getting a few more battles down the line. I'm just going to start back here, making my way around the inner loop. I think the last time we got all the possible entry points on the outer loop, but I'm still missing 1 or 2 for the inner one. So hopefully we can work on that right now. Just have a few more options in the future. I also bought a new clutch in between episodes, so that's another little upgrade that I gave myself. But besides that, we could actually potentially start thinking about adding some aero parts, just for the looks. I don't think I'll be adding much more tuning to this car for the time being. In a while there are going to be a few boss battles that I need to take care of, and after that we should be able to unlock a few more tuning parts, and that's when I'm going to give this car some serious upgrades. It's just that some of the entry level stuff isn't really helping me all that much, so I'd rather skip some of those and keep the money. And I mean, we are doing pretty well for ourselves right now. As long as I don't run against the wrong traffic car, I should be fine for the time being. Which I think is also a good transition to finally talk about some comparison between Xtreme Racer Zero and the new 2025 entry. So, first up, the car handling. And this is a big one, and this is something that I heard from other people as well, and I can confirm it's not really what it needs to be. In fact, it's actually kinda boring. So the cars are very predictable, very easygoing. There is this whole tire system where they wear out over time. And especially at the start, you can easily run with completely run-down tires. It doesn't make much of a difference unless you are in first gear. And if you keep a close eye to the gears in the bottom right, we are never going in first gear during a race. And yeah, overall, for the most part, I barely need to lift off the gas here. And this hasn't been how Tokyo Xtreme Racer Zero behaved. So even on the PS2 title, it felt like there was more of a need to break even early game. To be clear, that has been a few years back, and while I am still aware of how the game plays out overall, the handling model in particular, I would need to do a refresher to be 100% sure. And yeah, there's another car behind me. So now I'm slowing down because I need that guy to catch up with me. So just gonna even go into reverse here for a moment. Don't mind me, this is only highly illegal and dangerous. But yeah, the handling, I mean, in the games it doesn't seem like it's always been that realistic or anything like that. But for Zero at least it felt much more fitting. To be clear, the cars were never really all that responsive, and actuality they felt kinda sluggish. You could actually increase the steering responsiveness in that game, and if you turned it to the maximum, then you had something halfway decent. But it always worked for the game. And especially in this area, to be clear, this is the most twisty and windy part of the expressway that the game has ever featured. And in Zero you definitely need to brake every now and again, even in your slow little starter car. So as it is right now, it's really just an acceleration and traffic dodging thing. Besides that, there isn't really too much involved here. Lift off the gas and you are pretty much good to go, and yeah, I think it could be a bit more interesting in that sense. To be clear, since this is a car battler on the open road, while I would like the handling to be a bit more involved, a bit more interesting on its own, it doesn't really break the game. For a lot of other games, driving is the most important thing that can make or break the game, but as it is for this one, the battles are quite interesting on their own due to other factors, and that means the handling can be a bit dull without the game becoming boring. But I would still like for that to be upgraded and addressed properly. I was hoping to back out of the situation instead of stopping both of us, but here we are and I'm apparently neutral. Also, shifting right now is a very delayed thing, and if I shift multiple times it's going to really take its time until it goes back into gear. To be clear, that's being dealt with by applying a few transmission and clutch upgrades. But yeah, I might actually lose this one. Unless I get close enough to him before my health bar runs out. Might be able to save it after all. By the way, there is some change to how this thing works. How the whole battle system works compared to Zero, back in the day, whenever you were ahead, you were making a bit of damage to their SP bar, and if your opponent was ahead, that would be to your detriment. The whole 25-meter safe distance, that's a brand new thing. Also, there seems to be a limitation on how much damage they can take from, well, you damaging them. So just ramming them to death isn't really going to work. There's going to be a threshold with about 20%. We're just going to stop taking damage from that. So you gotta beat them on the road after all, but you can maybe make that process a bit quicker by just running into them. So those mechanics have definitely changed a little bit, but I don't mind that at all. Although there have been a few awkward races where I've been just running after a guy for about 5 minutes. Yes, that actually did happen at some point. Highway race on a long straight, and it just didn't go anywhere for either of us. Okay, I think that might be the last ram that I'm getting here. So we are almost one lap around the entire thing here, which is neat. I also got a few more wins under my belt, but yeah, at least one of them has been from traffic cars, if not two, so I'm not really too close to the goal that I set for myself here, with unlocking the long run bonus. But yeah, here we go, another win, which is neat and gets us a bit closer. I might just take on another traffic car. So yeah, we've talked about the handling, we've talked about the SP bar differences with how everything works right now. So with the SP bar, it's a different system. I don't know if I prefer it, it's just really a different way of doing things, which in my book is about as good as the other one. Both have their upsides and downsides. And yeah, another thing I would like to talk about is the translation. I already made some hint towards that with the last video, and the game being Japanese, and I think also originally being written in Japanese and then translated over to English, I'm a bit mixed on that. The cheesiness of it all, the grand idea of making this philosophical, calling the racers souls as they enter the expressway to do illegal street racing. They call this the birth of a new soul. It's kind of cool in its own right. Completely bonkers, but has a lot of charm due to that. The thing is though that the overall translation quality has always been a bit dodgy. And in a sense, Tokyo Xtreme Racer Zero worked a bit better for me back in the day, but that was more down to me not really knowing English that well at that point. Not again. Shit. Trying to keep up with the guy, he could have run away from me as I shifted into reverse. But yeah, the translation... Stop it. It's actually... it's not been the best for the entire series. Back in the day it was a bit helped by me not understanding English all that well. So I was basically at the level where I could understand the gist of everything, but I wasn't really well enough equipped to understand just how poorly some of it was written out. And you can already tell by just looking at the names of some of the guys here. I mean, Rolling Guy has always been a thing with this particular crew, which also appears in a lot of the other games. That they are just numbered through, there's nothing special about that. But the other character that we met in the last episode, Cinderella Past Midnight, in the other game, her name was Late Night Cinderella. There's also a guy named Jack Knife, usually referred to as Traitor Jackknife, but in one of the other games his name was Jackknife Betrayal. So yeah, the translation gets the gist of it, but it's not always the same, and that makes me feel like they are not really sure about which one to go with. And in some ways it might not be the best for that. By the way, I now apparently got through all of the other rolling guys, so I'm now facing the leader, rolling guy number 1. So yeah, for the teams, most of the people are just free roaming, but the leader will only show up once you've beaten all the other team members, and he will actually be the one challenging you to a race. I could go back into 4th here. And they are usually quite a bit more aggressive, quite a bit quicker, and very often you need to block them in order to stay ahead. I mean, this guy isn't all that bad, but there are going to be a few. If I let them pass, then I'm just kinda screwed. But yeah, this worked out pretty well, and yeah, with that the game decided to put me back into the garage, because now there's going to be another story bit. And yeah, 2 of the guys that I've just beaten came after me with their cars, going into the parking area. And now they're going to talk to me just pretty much the same as in the last episode. So rolling guy number 1, the team leader, and we are now getting the full-on introduction. And yeah, it's not just a name, there actually has been a guy that is also on the team logo. That's a real-life thing, cultural reference. I don't really know much to do with that. But yeah, there are some real-life references to other things. And yeah, well, call me a rookie, stuff like that. And giving me a bit of an introduction to the deeper culture of it. And they also apparently were hoping that they weren't a stepping stone for other people anymore, but here we are. And here there's apparently another guy, the Rolling Master. So we are supposed to now battle him and then go further from there. So this is the first boss in the game, or one of the first ones. I mean, when it comes to the little story bits, I don't really know what to tell you guys. You can see it for yourself, you can interpret it how you want. So we had 8 wins in total, 5 of them against other people, so we should be up to 6 battle points. So yeah, time to invest into the long run perk. So let's get in here. Oh no, I want to get into the skills, get the cruising enthusiast skill, but now into the long run skill from that. And this is going to give me 20% bonus to the long run bonus, and that actually is something that I get for, I think, traveling 25 kilometers in the game. So that's usually burning through one set of tires. Gives me 100k, so we are now up to 120k there, which is quite neat. But yeah, to talk a bit more about this system here, I'm a bit mixed on it. When I first saw it, I thought, well, skill trees and all of that doesn't really belong in a quote-unquote racing game. The stuff that we have here is quite nice. My biggest concern was that maybe with some of the things here, I would end up lessening the experience by just cheesing it. On my other playthrough, I never invested a single point into the driving level here. So I never boosted my attack, I never helped out my defense. I left this on stock values. So that also works. Not really a problem. Makes everything likely a bit harder, but doable. Perks are something that I need to invest in. The wallet thing is kind of annoying. At some points I can make a lot of money, I don't have much to invest in because of the limited pool of cars that I can even buy to begin with. And it can get to a point where you are really running into the ceiling of how much you can put into your wallet, and this is really not great. This is just kinda getting in your way in a sense. Machine unlocking was handled a bit differently in Tokyo Xtreme Racer Zero. And the way it worked there was, there were a lot of cars in that game. A lot more than what we have right now, but also multiple different versions of the same exact thing. Like multiple versions of the R32 Skyline. There might be one that's available from the get-go. There might be a few that come out later, but the way you would unlock anything is by beating a guy who drives that car. So you might go 20-30 battles without unlocking anything, and then all of a sudden you run into somebody who is driving the weirdest, most niche car on the highway, and suddenly you can have that for yourself. Which is neat. It leaves up a lot more surprises than what we have right now, because basically every car that's in the game right now, we can check out all the Mitsubishis over here. So we know there's 4 of them, and this is basically it. With the other game, it was a lot more hidden. There were a few hidden gems that you could really only find if you were lucky enough to encounter the guy and then race and beat them. But yeah, as it works right now, basically you can unlock them at your own leisure, but or at your own pace. But some of them are going to be locked until you beat a certain boss, so all of a sudden you're going to run into a bit of a ceiling, and there are only going to be more cars available once you make it through some of the bosses. So it's a lot more getting to a certain point and then getting a step up, unlocking a lot more cars at that point, instead of the more gradual incline in vehicles being available. So, I don't know. I kinda like the other version a bit more, or I think they should maybe go for a mix between what we have right now and what Zero does. So having the quote-unquote mainstream cars available right as it does right now, but maybe also sprinkle in a few that are being unlocked from specific opponents instead of all the bosses. Just so that we can have something special and niche that not everybody might know from the get-go that it's there. I think that kind of discovery was really amazing in Zero, and it's completely absent over here. There's also something to be said about the general pace of unlocking, because right now you get to the to maybe unlocking half of them before the entire early access part ends, and then you just get all of the rest at once, which is not really how I like it, but this might just have to do with how the current version is structured with not all the content in place yet. But yeah, overall, I'm a bit mixed on this system. I think Zero had something going for it with how it was handling it. I don't mind investing points in order to get the unlocks, but with how it's level gated, it's kinda not amazing. Especially if I want to get to, let's say, the Fair Lady. Right now it's only telling me that I need to unlock the car beforehand, so I would need to invest into this before I can get to this one. But once I do that, it's now going to tell me that I actually have to beat a certain boss in order to get this as well. So if I only get one car to buy one that's later down the line, especially if there are a few more steps in the middle, I may run into the problem of still not being able to get it because there's going to be another requirement that right now I cannot even see. So that's a bit annoying. Anyways, I want to do the boss battle as well this episode. Put a nice little bow on the whole rolling guy story. I think this should be it. We can also go into our objectives over here and click on this, and it's going to tell me, yeah, this is the guy. So I actually need to start over here. I could have started ahead of him and drive backwards. I try to not do it because it kinda doesn't feel great. Just feels like endangering other people on the road, even though, I mean, it's just a game at the end of the day. But it's breaking my immersion, so I like to avoid it. So we're just going to do a few other battles in order to get there. Or maybe just want to get us started with, and then we are just going to stick with what we got here. Also, right now I'm considering whether to make another episode right away after this one, or if I should just keep playing until I unlock the next part of the map. Because for what I would like to talk about regarding different other aspects, I really need that to be available. I think we covered a whole lot of stuff here with how the game is structured right now, and yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to talk about regarding the game as what I can show you right now with this save file. I mean, there is the whole other thing that I started alluding to, but haven't really gone through about the different versions of the cars. Because I think right now, by having cut down the amount of different variations of the same car, and I'm not talking about different generations, but really just R32 GTR, R32, whatever else. There have been the two-wheel drive versions of the Skylines as well, which are nice, and I count them as different vehicles because they have some different things going on functionally. But there have been different versions of the R32 four-wheel drive Skyline, and yeah, that got a bit annoying in Tokyo Xtreme Racer Zero, to be clear. Here we are, here's the boss, and we're getting a nice little intro to him. The problem I had with how Zero handled the car variety was that very often there would be multiple versions of the same car, and really just these tiny difference in variants, and you could very often buy one of them from the get-go, like with the R32 Skyline. You really only needed the right amount of money and then it could be yours. However, maybe 200 opponents into the game, you would then encounter another R32, and that was a special edition which was maybe a bit more powerful, a bit lighter and all of that. And yeah, by that point you most likely already had a R32 Skyline which was fully upgraded to that point. And you would either have to now deal with having kind of a lesser version of the two, or having to sell that one and switch to the other. So by streamlining this kind of part of the game where really there aren't two versions or two exact or like two minor differences, two minor variants of the same model in the game, I think this is a really good thing for the game overall. Just so that I don't end up either delaying buying the R32 because maybe later down the line there's going to be a slightly improved one, or just having to then deal with knowing that, yeah, I'm stuck with the not so great version. I think this is a great advantage that this game doesn't do that anymore. If anything, if there were multiple versions of the same car, then they should be unlocked at the same time. And to some degree I think that should be how they handle the whole Sprinter, Trueno and Corolla 11 situation. Because this car actually has two variants, as I showed you guys before. And yeah, now we get a bit of a chat between Rolling Guy number 1 and Rolling Master, and apparently they are brothers. And yeah, for me the thing is with this car, if we look at the perks real quick. Somebody in the door shouldn't be my problem. Don't expect any visitor here. Okay, I can't even afford it. So yeah, I got this car right here. And the only difference between the two is that this one has pop-up headlights and this one has permanent ones. Also slight difference with the rear lights, but overall it's just it's mostly the same car with a few optical differences, and I think the set of spoilers is different between the two, but nothing too crazy. So yeah, this one I can get from the get-go as a starter car, as I got it here. This one I would need to unlock first, and I think it might have been nice if we could just choose between either of them for a starter car. Functionally they are the same, but it's just a difference in taste, and if I really would like to get this one, it's kind of annoying that I need to get another starter car to begin with, only for this one to be available later. Could just choose between either of them. I mean, then again, if I want to get both, or if I want to get this one in particular, then maybe not choosing this one from the get-go might be a good way to handle this. But yeah, anyways, this is gonna be it for me for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the whole matter, and see you guys the next time around. Until then, have a good one, and bye bye.